Alright, so I'm keeping it going on the 48 today. Just doing some odds and ends that I've been meaning to do for a very long time. Like welding this bar in the trunk so that I can mount my fuel cell. And I wanted to hook up the drive line, the drive shaft, see, if it matched up, because God forbid, I put the engine and the tranny in and watch the drive shaft be too long or too short, but I can't necessarily bolt it in yet because I have some other issues. But I did line it up and it matches, it fits, so thank God for that. But another thing I wanted to get done really bad, I wanted to get a couple things done. The list started out as, get this trunk buttoned up with the fuel cell. The nose of the car, I call it the nose, but I don't really know what you call it, but the hood of the car, obviously I can't put a hood on this. I could weld my hood that I have, but I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but, or those of you that know about, the 40s, the hoods open up like butterfly wings, like they open on both sides, and there's a strip that goes down the middle. And I would have to weld it shut to make it one solid piece, and then I'd have to cut a hole in the middle for the scoop to come out. And I didn't really want to do all that. I'd rather just go hoodless, but I really don't like the way it looks on the front with I don't know, like there's the radiator surround, and there's bars go across, and I feel like it needed to have, the front. I've seen some people with, with early 40s cars, usually Plymouths, like they'll just cut the hood, like the front of the hood, so that like the nose piece is there, and if that makes sense. But it all makes sense because you're going to see me do it here in a little bit. But I wanted to get that done. I wanted to take the whole front end off, and there's a problem which I don't show, but the radiator surround, there's a bracket that goes across, and it goes right in front of my pulley system. Like I have to cut it out in order for my pulleys for my engine to fit, or else that nothing's gonna work. And I don't know if they did have a 350 in this before, whoever I bought it off of, which they claim they did. I don't know how they had it in there with that in the way, but they must. I don't know, but I have to cut it out. So, and it's not a big deal, it's literally just one cut, and I want to repair that anyway. That one, the radiator surround is really rusty because water probably settled in it from it sitting outside, and I need to kind of sand it down a bit, just rough it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna use my rust the rust stuff that I use on the frame. It brings it back, it eliminates rust, and then you can paint over it. And that was my goal, but I didn't get to the grill surround. I'll be doing that in the next episode probably. But I got a lot done for 5 hours out here. Wasn't really a long one. It was a nice day, so I was actually able to get some painting done, which was awesome. It was like it was about 43 degrees out today, which is beautiful compared to how it's been. It's been pretty rough. I'm used to like 8 degrees, 9 degrees lately, and everything's been frozen solid for a very long time. It's been a pretty crazy winter here in Pennsylvania, but it's Pennsylvania. It's kind of weird to not have a winter, and we haven't had one in quite a while, so it's kind of nice to see some snow. Now this pipe that I welded in here, I'm still like fresh. I'm only 7 months into welding. I don't know shit about welding. Like I'm just still learning. I don't know about different types of metal. I never took a welding class, which I plan on maybe doing actually, because it wouldn't hurt. But like this pipe smelled so bad it was shooting white stuff everywhere. Maybe one of you can let me know what that is in the comments, or if I'm even supposed to be welding this stuff. But like, I could like taste it, and that can't be good. But I figured I only have to tack this in. You know, it's just holding up a fuel cell, and it's solid as a rock. I could pull the whole car around by this pipe, but it definitely, I need to be careful of what type of material I weld. But I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I didn't think it was a big deal. I just thought it was a metal pipe, but I guess there are different types of metal out there. Now, it killed me to do this. You know, I hate to cut through, you know, what are we talking here, like 75-year-old, you know, steel, or 75-year-old hood. You know, it's kind of hard to bring myself to cut it open and destroy it, but I really didn't want to have to fabricate these nose pieces out of metal. I don't have like an English wheel. I don't have any fabricating tools. Yeah, I have a pair of vice grips and a cutting wheel. So, and a hammer, a wood hammer. So, I mean, yeah, I know. I guess I could go get myself some tools. You know, it's about time here. I'm building hot rods, but I really, that stuff will come in time. I figured I'm never going to use this hood. I'm never going to sell it to anybody around here, and I'm not going to ship it. I'm not going to put this thing in a box and ship it. I'm going to use it. I'm just going to cut the ends off, and what I'm doing here is I'm cutting the trim off because the nuts were so rusted onto the bolts that there was no way of even getting them off. So I had to cut them carefully without damaging the trim, because that trim I can ship and sell, because these trim pieces go for a lot of money. I mean, I had to buy a piece for this car, and it was about $250. I hate to admit it, but yeah, they're not cheap, because there's not many of these around, especially the 2-doors. And this leftover piece of scrap metal that was perfect was from the trunk that I cut out, and I save all my scrap metal, and it had the perfect arch to it, and I just marked my center mark and had the perfect curvature to it to make my lines, and I knew I hung on to that piece for something. Yeah, I had to be really careful with this because I had one shot at it, and you know, I just took my time. That's why it's so sped up, because I didn't fly through this process. I made sure that it was right on the line, because like I said, there is no second chance at this. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of the hood. I saved it, but for what reason, I don't know. I mean, it's unusable, but you know, maybe I'll find something creative to use the rest for. But these are the nose pieces, and see, I couldn't stand the way it looked without it. It just looked really strange. And see, that's has the curvature to it. I think it looks a heck of a lot better like that, rather than how it looked without it. And luckily, it was cut. You know, the cuts ended up to be perfect. It was exactly how it needed to be. Now, I don't know how old this yellow paint job is. It could be lead paint for all I know. I have no idea. It could have been painted, you know, 50 years ago, 40 years ago. Probably was. It was probably painted in the 80s. But I just gave it a quick, you know, with a flap disc. Just took off the surface, and it's all getting spray bombed anyway. So that's what I love about this car. Like, if there's a scratch, or if I, you know, drop something on it, or rub up against it with my keys on my side, and just spray bomb, you know, just hit it with the spray paint, you know, and no harm, no foul. Actually, a scratch would just make it look even better. I never wanted this to be a show car. I don't like show car. Like, even to me, the 58's too nice, because, you know, it does have a decent paint job on it for, you know, being a 40-year-old paint job that's on that, but it was garage kept and it looks nice. And I don't like the idea of having a car that I'm afraid to drive or afraid to work around. I feel like an old dusty car with some wear and tear on it. I think it looks better, honestly. And I plan on driving this a lot. If it ever runs, we'll see. Yeah, this is quite the process. Had to throw them eyeballs in there because this is so boring that your eyes might start pussing. Or whatever that is. Yeah, so just I put 3 quick coats of spray paint on it, but you know, just some matte black like the rest of the car. But I had to, you know, re-sand the edges to get my welds, you know, obviously to weld it in place. So, which kind of sucked. And then I put a 4th final coat on it after it was on the car. But I figured like these nose pieces are probably going to get the most, you know, damage. You know, there's going to be like bugs flying up on them. There's going to be, you know, it's leading the way of the car. So I just kind of, 4 coats should be enough. And hey, if anything does happen, I can always just spray it again. I don't think they're going to stop selling matte black Krylon anytime soon. And if they do, I'll just use a different brand. I don't care. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better day. It was like 45 at this point. It was literally taking like 6 minutes between coats to completely dry, and it was great. Yeah, if you look closely, you can see the little spots that I sanded just to be able to tack it in those welds. And I, you know, I obviously didn't lay a fat bead the whole way down along the sides. There's no point. I just tacked them in place and tried to grind them off the best I could so that they weren't that noticeable. But this car, you know, I want you to see the stitches on it. I want you to see, you know, it's like I keep saying, it's no show car. I think I say it in every episode. Like it's not that I'm using that as an excuse to do like a shit job on it, but I mean, maybe that works out in my favor a bit, but like I really mean that. Like I like the rough look, you know, like this is the type of car that can look rough. Like it would almost be weird if this car was like gorgeous and had like a pearl paint job on it. Now don't get me wrong, there's gassers out there that are gorgeous with, you know, beautiful paint jobs, and they're done very, very nicely, but you know, this isn't that type of project, and I'm not that type of guy for the job either. If I had $60,000 to dump into this thing, I wouldn't be building this car with $60,000. Yeah, I mean, there were some decent gaps. Like these things, they weren't warped, but you know, the front end of this was wrecked. If you've been following this project, then you know that the clip was kind of bent in. But there was, you know, it's not perfectly straight or square. So even just putting these on, there were gaps on either side. The hood wouldn't have even sat, you know, nicely if I did leave the full hood. So I had to really like pinch the gaps down just to be able to weld this, but it'll add some structure at least to the front anyway. You know, a lot more than what was there, and especially because I have to cut into that grille shroud, or the grille surround. The bottom bracket has to be cut off, which half of it's rusted off anyway, so you know, it is what it is. I'm kind of bummed I didn't get to that today, but I don't want to take this on and off by myself with the engine in there now, because I don't want to like risk damaging anything. And I just painted that firewall again, and I don't want to hog it all up. So it's nice when someone can be on each side. It's really not that heavy of an ordeal, it's just awkward. And I also eventually would like to put it on hinges so that I can just lift it up, but we'll see. So yeah, I mean, that looks a million times better. I think so anyway. What do you think? No, that won't be so shiny and glossy when it dries. It's soaking wet, but it'll match the rest of the car. I need to throw some dust on her, but yeah, I mean, I think it just looks better and better. Every time I get something done, it just comes together more and more. And that's that. But thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.